Listen, Scott, I mean, I'm just a TV, so don't take my opinion too far. I'm absolute dog water attack shooters. In Overwatch, you can just like run around. You can like, I don't know, slam 200 milligrams of Adderall, no worries, just bounce off the wall. You guys need to accept that women cop more in games than men do. Full stop.
Yeah.
That's it. It happens.
If anything, your favorite men's team's gonna get revenue because they're gonna pick up a women's division and get money from more sponsors. You're idiots. You're idiots. Welcome to the breakdown for December 22nd, 2021, episode 2 of the new show. I'm SirScoots, as always, was your only host, not anymore. Joined by my co-host remotely today, unfortunately, UberShouts, Mitch Leslie, my new co-host of the show, holding it down for me. Feeling a little under the weather starting yesterday, and obviously, the world we all live in. Better safe than sorry. Mitch, bringing you in by the magic of Bitfire transmission into your own TV at your side of the desk without you.
Yeah, this shit's fire, bro. We normally use vMix for a lot of our other shows, right? But this is kind of cool. I just click on a link and here I am. Yeah. How am I doing? Well, I'm stuck in a fucking box, Scott, so that's how I'm going. Yeah, I got some sniffles this week, but you know what? Here's this for a sign of the times, right? Now, in this day and age, the current year, as soon as you start developing any sort of sniffles, like any upper respiratory symptoms, you basically got to go get a fucking COVID test, don't you? Because you don't fucking know. Everyone says, like, if you're experiencing these symptoms, which are, consistent with colds, for example, you should go straight to the fucking ER and not to your doctor. And I'm like, hang on. So we got tests. We're all good. We are negative, as they say, which is great because my mum's coming from Australia today. I'm going to catch up with her. But yeah, doing pretty well, man. Sorry I couldn't be there today. I'll make it up to you. Don't worry. I'll cut down on the boomer jokes for a bit to make up to it. How about that?
No, fair enough. And again, we talked about this in the sense that obviously you don't live in Arizona with me, and that there would be times where you might miss a flight or something does come up because, again, new kid, new family going there. Happened earlier than we wanted to in episode 2, but hey, it's technology. It's the way it works. Bitfire transmission works great to bring you in. It's a little weird for me because I'm pretending like you're over there, but yeah, it's cool. Anyway, let's get into it. Lots to talk about today. Quick, brief overview of what we're going to talk about. We're talking about Halo. We're talking about a whole lot of Counter-Strike news, tournament stuff, new tournament stuff, drama stuff. We're talking about Aimlab's doing a fun little event. We got a lot of stuff to get into. So that being said, we're going to start with Halo. I'm wearing my MLG old school hoodie to bring it on back. Halo came back to us. Obviously, we talked a little bit about it in episode 1 when they had announced Raleigh, HCS Raleigh. Watched quite a bit of it this weekend. Got an incredible MLG vibe from it, as a lot of people were tweeting. Looked like an old MLG, smelled like one, felt like one. Your initial thoughts on Halo coming back and how much of it you caught this weekend? Full disclosure, were you busy? Did you catch much of it? Because I can fill you in if you didn't.
Yeah, no, not as much as I would have liked to. I did obviously look at a lot of the hype around the event. I'll be honest with you, I know the location choice and the format and the stage setup, I think a lot of this was driven by the nostalgia of the past, right? Which is fine. I think that's totally fine. The viewership was also really good for this particular event. It definitely felt like, MLG getting back to their roots in a big way. And look, it's great. I think that, for your kickoff major to take a fond look back at the past. But part of me also hopes that, we're going to see some innovation in terms of the format and sort of the offering for this particular tournament. But I mean, it seems sick. When was the last time we had something in Raleigh? Right?
Yeah.
With the last Halo major. So it was cool.
Again.
They brought back the big team battle showdown as well with Golden Boy and Walshy, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and they have a great storyline going with those two. They obviously have known each other for years. Rivalry going back forever, those two just talking smack online. And again, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, what are you talking about, Scott? MLG's dead. They're gone. MLG, through a various series of acquisitions and selling, became an MLG property that became Activision Blizzard property. All the people that ran and built that either went to work for Activision Blizzard for a while or never went there, but they all kind of regrouped under a bunch of money under Vindex, the venture capital firm, so to speak, whether it's Anbox over here that runs esports teams or Esports Engine, that is a full-service tournament organizer, creation company. This was run by Esports Engine for the HCS. They'll do all the events. So that's when I say it's MLG, it's like Adam Apicella. It's a lot of the same people. Ryan Thompson, production guy, same guys.
Sundance.
Yeah. So again, and again, it shows. It is they're putting their shows on again, right? And it was cool. Now let's again Great to see Halo back. Great to see it being a good esport. We talked about some issues last week about the keyboard mouse situation.
A minor one, just
a
an issue
minor
for
one,
me,
you know,
'cause I'm
auto
salty
aim,
and I
that kind
fucking
of
don't wanna
stuff.
switch.
Well, now they've done their first big LAN, right? And good. Great to see a big LAN. Great to see a LAN that has a lot of grassroots elements to it. Big open stations, big open bracket. Lots of people playing Halo on the weekend, not just the pro teams. But what came with that, this looks really good. While we're running some B-roll of this, one of the things I also like, we always talk about production. Again, another great stage by them. They did it in a very old school head-to-head style where the two teams are literally, 10 feet apart from each other, but facing each other, kind of. Instead of facing the audience, they kind of face the trash talk of each other. Really neat.
I'm not trying to be funny, but like, there's like a kind of a shortage of masks going on. I don't want to be that guy, right? Because these guys are on stage and all that, but I see it in the crowd as well.
Yeah.
When COD, I think when the CDL tried to run that LAN event and then a bunch of people in the audience complained of, getting COVID after the event, I kind of thought that maybe it would be more stringent. Is that because of the part of the country it's in? Or am I just completely, out of the loop here, and we're all going back to normal now? Like, what's going on?
Well, I saw the same thing, and I think there were two protocols that were supposed to be in place. And again, wasn't there, didn't necessarily read all the rules and regulations as a spectator or a player. I think the pros were in one zone where they didn't have to be masked up, but I believe everybody had to show, proof of vaccination or negative test before they got in. But I thought all spectators in the venue were supposed to be masked at all times. So to your point of a lot of people in the audience, definitely not masked. So, just fingers crossed it doesn't turn into any sort of, spread fest.
Yeah. Like, I'm being that guy, right, Scott? I get it, right? Especially if it's like a vaccine mandated event. But like, I've seen these events with like stated safety policies that aren't enforced because it gets too difficult to do, or in reality, or people, or whatever, right? So I'm just like, I want to go to those events as well, but I've also, these people might not have kids. They might not care. They might not even believe COVID exists. So who fucking knows, right? But I would like to attend these events as well, but I would be a little bit dubious about, people not masking up.
Yeah.
It's such a fucking small thing. And I don't want it to take away from this event at all, because I think that's just fucking dumb. But I couldn't help but notice it.
No, I'm with you on that. I notice it at every event. All these as events are starting to come back with a combination of whether studio and players in studio, or now some fans around the world. It's very interesting to see how which TOs are dealing with protocols or not dealing with protocols, and then the outcomes of that. Obviously, this is a problem and an issue with COVID that we're going to have to live with for a while. Anyway, so enough of that little negative. But again, it was an interesting thing that both of us thought about. And again, it's either they didn't follow, like, it's one thing to set your rules and regulations, but you got to then enforce them, right? You just do, or why set them? But moving on to what became a much bigger drama, right? So, again, big event on LAN now. They started to get a lot of server crashes during their matches, right?
Wait, server crashes or client crashes, Scott?
I think it was client disconnects, actually. I think, if I'm accurate, I think it would have started with client disconnects, but I don't know what was causing it. But I saw a lot of tweets about the latest build of their server and such. So I don't know exactly what was forcing it, and they got it finally solved. It looked like by Saturday afternoon, evening, the crashes were less significant. But like, I was watching Exit and Ascend. And Game 5 took what had to have been 2-3 hours just to get through the last map, because again, new game, new esport, up and coming, no match medic, no easy rollback. So they're doing the math, going, okay, well now this team has to win 43, has to get 43 kills to win.
No.
It was just not easy, right? It wasn't easy to roll back. And I felt bad for Bravo and Onset is the other caster, I think.
Onset, yeah.
And they were nailing it there. But as you know. And even I know, when you have to fill, there's only so many times you can witty banter your way out of it. After the 5th crash in the same match or whatever it is.
It fucking blows, dude.
Yeah. And they finally were like...
start talking about something completely different.
Yeah, Onset finally, I can't even apologize anymore. I don't know what, it is what it is. And so bless their hearts, they kept it going. But again, a bummer. They did get it kind of solved, so the finals were fine. It all seemed to settle down, but again, it's just really disheartening when you're trying to compete or you're trying to watch. Obviously, more important if you're the competitor than the fan at home watching.
Sure.
Just kills all your momentum. They got through it though. They did that. Again, figured it out. Whatever it happened to be. I haven't seen any official PRs as to like we figured it out. It was X, Y, and Z. But obviously, it became
That means
a
they didn't
big
fix
thing.
it, Scott. That means they just smoothed it over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, Snipedown's tweet says literally, I'm switching from PC where I can get my like max frames, right, if I've got the right rig, to Xbox, which I think it's at least 60 frames, right? We're not 30 FPS gamers on Xbox anymore, I don't think, but I don't know if it goes much higher than that. So Snipedown says, I'm taking a performance hit, a quality experience quality hit playing this game, moving to Xbox to avoid these disconnects. These disconnects, by the way, happen online and on LAN by the looks of things. Like they're occurring in both environments because I played a bunch of Halo Infinite when it first came out, tried to play a bunch of ranked. A few of my caster mates who are a little bit better at games, were pushing Onyx and stuff like that. And they were getting disconnected from games all the fucking time. And you can't reconnect to the game, Scott. If you disconnect from a game in Halo Infinite, at least this is how it was, you're fucked. You lose a bunch of rating. You can get banned for leaving the game.
Oh, God.
And obviously, there wasn't really much recourse for you there. So a lot of PC players, at the very least, were complaining about this arduous task of trying to climb when like they were getting these intermittent crashes. There were like a bunch of fixes, tweaks you could do. A couple Halo pros tried a few tweaks of their own, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, they shipped a game that had some, I would argue, fairly critical issues with it. And in this case, it can affect the competitive integrity and also just kind of fuck with your tournament. So I think they had to use Xbox dev kits, as Jay's saying in the chat. So listen, I think it's great that out of the box, Scott, they had an esports tournament, they had a kickoff major and stuff like that. But this is the other side of the coin when you're sort of, I won't say rushing, but you're shipping a game to live that has some key issues in it, and then you're trying to, get it played in a competitive setting. Despite this, still not the worst debut of an esports title, that's for sure. And they've done well to just add water and poof, we have an entire esports event.
Yeah, a little cart before the horse in that sense, right? You got the team skins, you got all this infrastructure laid, you ready for your first big event. If your game ain't stable, the rest of it kind of don't matter in a way, right? But again, they got it solved. It's like every other event. As long as you get that shit solved as quickly as you can and it doesn't continually happen and become systemic, it's always usually the Friday or the Thursday, day one. Theirs lasts a little longer. Let's move on to some other, this happened before the event. So we're going to bring up this idea of, it goes back to, your ping, the server choices, HCS suspended, Royal 2. Walk us through this a little bit.
Okay, so old mate, as far as I understand, Royal 2, who is a storied competitor, by the way, in Halo Esports, was basically suspended for server manipulation. Now, more specifically, it looks like Royal 2 was able to change something in his game registry that meant that any game that he connected to would be forced to connect to US West servers, right? So it looks like there was some vulnerability where basically you can tell the game that it cannot connect you to any other server than that one. It's a third-party program, which is probably a little bit worse, if I'm honest with you, because it's not like the game had some disadvantage built in. Now, this is likely something that Royal 2 was doing in his ranked games, right? And just making sure he only got US West servers. Unfortunately, he didn't change this shit, and these motherfuckers were playing in the qualifiers for Raleigh, as I understand. I'll be honest with you. This is a pretty... Okay, and he was suspended, right? Now, as far as I understand, the rest of his teammates aren't necessarily want to play on US West servers, or at least they're not, they're not based there, all of them. This guy's Royal 2's in Canada. I think he must be in Vancouver, something like that. So potentially disadvantaging his teammates, forcing the server to US West, obviously, to give him the sort of best ping. And, I think what he said is that I sort of left it on, like this wasn't the plan. And his teammates were like, I mean, how is this cheating if the three other of his teammates are disadvantaged by it or whatever? But a very interesting situation here where, he, as the individual, has been suspended. I'm surprised that the team wasn't DQ, but I guess there are some mitigating factors, right, Scott? Because it was just him that it benefited in theory.
Yeah, and to your point, it was everyone was basically like, dude, like, that's such a, again, cheating's the wrong word. Ideally, he obviously left it by accident. But like, in what world? Because people were like, in what world does a guy cheat and actually hurt his own teammates at the same time? Like, because to your point, like he kind of screwed a couple of his teammates, and then obviously by getting caught. And I say caught as if he did it intentionally. But yeah, and again, to your point, like arguably maybe even one of the best players of some of those versions of Halo, not story, but maybe the GOAT of some of those versions. So
yeah, we're not talking like the Ogre Brothers level, right? But
yeah.
This guy was, definitely highly respected. You know what I mean?
And this also
Sentinels
pissed off. Well, it also pissed off Sentinels so much that at one point they said they're not coming. They're like, "Oh, you're gonna DQ our guy? Yeah. We're not coming. We're just not gonna come now." That lasted like what? A couple hours? I don't know. And then someone had decided to join them.
It's a fucking kickoff major. Yeah. What are you talking about, guys? Okay, man. If you're gonna make threats like this, like at least follow it up, or at least make sure you're in a position to actually do this. Anyway, they got a substitute player. Remember this motherfucker? Formal, obviously, previous Call of Duty world champion with Optic. Fucking this guy. I mean, if you know anything about COD, you know exactly who this guy is by sight. He retired and was playing Halo, right? I think he was on Space Station, and he was like, he got picked up by Sentinels. He's like, yeah, sorry, boys. This might be a better opportunity for me. So off he goes. With bearing in mind, the guys, I think he's still a streamer under the Optic umbrella, right, Scott? But here he is, I think, in this game, playing with some of his would-be teammates. So there you have it.
Yeah, and again, I feel bad. I don't know the details behind Space Station. Is he just friends with them and he was like playing with them? Obviously, he didn't blow off a contract with them, but somehow Sentinels was able to say, hey, come play with us, and he did, which had to be a bummer for a Space Station because obviously they attended the event as well. I think they had to scramble maybe to get somebody. Again, didn't research that side of this story. But where this gets really, really funny, obviously, he's Optic family through and through one way or another. He ends up, Sentinels ends up playing Optic several times during the tournament, right? Deliciously loses once, Formal does, right? And Optic sends Sentinels to the lower bracket, right? But then, when it counts, when it matters, when you win or go home, Formal sent his family home.
Yeah, Sentinels had to run the whole lower bracket, by the way, Scott. I mean, they start in uppers, and I think they lose immediately in round 2, they lose to Optic. So they have to run through. They have to be, some sort of, teams that are less known, Gamers First, Unsigned Talent. They beat Ascend, they beat Space Station, and then they beat Optic. Yeah. You know what I mean? So kind of wild here. And this is obviously the Optic result. Now, bear in mind, it was, Formal wasn't playing for Optic in Halo, right? He was playing for Space Station. Yeah. So lost the Optic, right? But actually did go on to play against, his former, current, still previous team or what it was. Interesting storyline. And Sentinels do really well. They end up losing to FaZe Clan in lower semis there. So I think they get 4th place ultimately at the event. But people were definitely commenting on Formal kind of dropping some dookies on people. The guy's fucking cracked.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Social was having a blast with it, right? And I think what's also neat is like in an Optic team, you got Pistola, who is again a legendary. When he was playing, he was youngest player, crushing everybody. Obviously, they've all grown up, and so it's not like Optic was a shit team that they beat. They had a decent chance there too. So fun stuff. I guess it'll be interesting to watch Formal's official Halo career now and see what he does. I doubt he will pursue, but you never know. And obviously, tournament continued. We had a winner, and the big final was Cloud9 coming in, and they got people in my ear.
It was EUnited. It was C9 versus EUnited.
Yeah, EUnited, which again, EUnited, a team, if you're familiar with esports, is certainly a household, I would say, indigenous esports brand name. But when you start thinking of Cloud9s and Liquids and G2s, they don't resonate in that scale of world notoriety necessarily, maybe in some of the games. So to see them sitting right there, it's kind of nice for EUnited because they're always like a little second fiddle, I think, as a big organization. And obviously Cloud9 wins it. They get to now have the historic, we've won the very first one. There's a bunch of these coming, the HCS tournament series. And I also think, we didn't talk about it at the beginning of Halo, but much like Call of Duty, what I think is also neat, because we always talk about just the esport of these things, right? Much like Call of Duty, Halo plays a format where they play different game types to find winners, right? So you just don't have to be good at Slayer or CTF or Search and Destroy in Call of Duty. Like, it's a mix of your skill sets, so you have to recruit for a mix of your skill sets. You know, in Counter-Strike, we worry about oppers and entry and those kind of things, and IGLs. You have to worry about a little bit of that in these games, but then you've got this whole other slice, and I've always been intrigued by that. Again, I first saw it when I met Halo back in the day. I was like, oh, that's neat. You play this, this, and this, and then you decide who. Of course, they also had extended series rules and all sorts of other craziness. But I always thought that was neat. What do you? And you, I brought that up with you because you guys in Overwatch do a version of that as well. You've got a couple different game types over there. You've messed with that over the years. Which ones are official? What are your thoughts on that type of division of an esport?
It's kind of like Call of Duty in the same way. Halo doesn't have mandated roles on your teams, but you will have, a Slayer, you'll have objective players, and you'll have support players, right? So that will influence how you approach each round. I've worked a couple Halo Championship Series events in the past, so I'll be honest, I'm not super familiar with it. I was usually working as like a side stage reporter on a lot of those. I did one back in Cologne in 2016. I worked with all these guys before, like Gaskin and Bravo and Strongside and stuff like that. So it's like Overwatch where it's like, you queue within a certain role, much closer to like League of Legends is now. Halo and Call of Duty, they do have their defined roles, but they are decided on by the players, right? And they're not codified officially, but you will see them referred to on broadcasts and stuff like that. And look, I want to point out, I think Cloud9 was definitely, they were a part of the Halo Championship Series, of course, 2016, like back at the height of sort of Halo Esports before, we saw this little hiatus, but they were not like a top team. I think they would like come fourth place, in some of these sort of championship series here. So this is a huge jump for them, like a sick way to start off, a new era of Halo Esports here. Not that they're necessarily sort of underrated, but they're just not nearly as storied as like some of your other names here. If I look back, it's like, back in, like that, they were still competing in Halo Esports, like the Halo 5 send-off, which was halfway through the year, and still competing in the Halo Pro Series, which has been going on this entire time, right? So they've been there, they've been a fixture, but by no means undisputed sort of top dogs here. So a great way for them to start here in a new game.
Well, and this is awesome for them. I think also one of the interesting things about Halo Esports specifically is, again, with its origin in MLG, like there's two types of teams of the history of Halo. There is the branded, owned by MLG brands that we all know and love, that we fell in love with, but those weren't run by entrepreneur types. The Final Bosses, the Carbons, the Straight Rippins, those are all MLG property teams, right? That was their thing, and they ran all that, right? So you've got all this history, but then Final Boss got recruited by Team 3D. And then when the entrepreneurial, like we were one of the entrepreneurial teams that came in as EG, we got a Halo team. So there was like this old world that got opened up when the world opened up. So I think that's kind of neat because you bring up Strongside, right? Strongside brought back Straight Rippin' this week, right? Again, a brand that he played for, but really didn't own, right? But now he gets to own this thing and be an esports team owner, go for it, right? And I used to go round and round with Adam Apicella and Sundance because, again, I was the EG guy. I'm like, you guys, you can't own all the teams and run the league.
You're outing yourself, man, as like the Silver Fox Old Boys Club. Except they ended up with money. What the fuck?
I know.
Right? You ended up what?
And we'd go round and round.
With me, motherfucker.
Yeah, because they controlled the T-shirts. Because, again, when we all rolled in, they were like, well, we have to approve your T-shirts. Because I'm like, what do you mean approve our T-shirts? Because they're used to, they made the Final Boss jerseys, so they'd put the Mountain Dew logo, they'd put whatever, and when all the freelance teams came in, they're like, no, that's not how we do it in all the other games, man. And we had to figure out how we work together with their sponsors, our stuff, but really neat. So the reason I bring it up, long rant.
Sundance ends up on an extended ski holiday, and you end up talking to a fucking CGTV with an Australian in it. How the fuck did you end up like this, mate? Wrong side of the deal, homie.
Fuck me now. No, I love you, Sundance. Just give it to gold, Sundance. Old joke. Reason I bring it up is what I'm interested in is what Strongside did. Because some of these brands are nostalgic. They probably have some buying power. Could Final Boss come back as a business? Some of those teams like he's doing. I was very intrigued when he announced that. I was like, oh, shit. Which also means that whoever owns those brands via the MLG sold was able to give that back out, right? Anyway, interesting side story. We'll see. Because if Final Boss came back, people would buy shirts like nobody's business right away.
It wouldn't be hard to leverage a previously beloved brand, especially with how nostalgia is. We saw a stat actually that there was like more people watching the Halo Championship Series than people playing the game on PC at the time. So that's one thing to be fair. But just keep an eye out to see how that might be affected, because you know, if there's nostalgia pushing Halo, and if it's the only thing pushing Halo, then it might peter off. So I hope that doesn't happen, because I think the people involved are, you know, good enough to make this one, you know, go on its own steam. But that's one thing I noticed as someone that comes from a game that has had some dubious attendance in our esports side and difficulty reaching the casual player. I would just flag that for future reference.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's always 6 months after a project. How's it doing? How's its legs? Whether it's a show like this or anything, you know, everything gets exciting in the beginning. I need to correct myself. Tashi, hey, by the way, thank you for coming, Tashi. Nice to see you. Congratulations. Tashi's one of the main guys behind the HCS, is in our chat. He's badass.
What's up?
I got T-Squared and Flamesword confused, not by how they look or act, obviously very different, but their teams. Straight ripping T-Squared, Flamesword, status quo. And that's right, because
I didn't live this reality. I was not like a console guy.
Yeah.
I was around like Call of Duty 4 and the TF2 world. So I mean, console Halo and COD was fucking massive in Australia. Really, really big. You know, like the guys who started, who did ESL Australia came from that background primarily. Okay. But yeah, that just wasn't my world. I'll be honest with you right now. So I kind of feel like I missed out. There's so much more. I hate this word's a little bit loaded, but brotherhood, and there's like a lot of nostalgia, and there's a lot of real halcyon memories about this era of just carting your CRT screen and your fucking console down to a land in the Midwest. So,
but it gets it gets even better though if your favorite game never went away. Know what I'm talking about?
Okay, CS.
Yeah,
okay,
baby.
Okay.
And in all deference to T-Squared, I think he actually brought Straight Ribbon back a couple years ago. So he actually was the first one to kind of bring one of those brands back as his own, which is cool that the MLG gang or whoever owns that shit is letting them do that. Let's move on. Great shit. Tashi, again, thanks for stopping by, chat. We will be keeping an eye on your stuff. It was really cool to watch. So fingers crossed that you have a great year of Halo. And maybe we'll get you on the show, or one of you guys on the show. Maybe we need to get a pro Halo guy on the show, get an interview going. Maybe
you motherfuckers can get inside a TV too.
Get inside our Crane TV. All right, let's move on. Next one, we're going to talk about fun event, very additive, very wacky. Aimlabs, if you're not familiar, is a service product company out there that helps you get better at your aim. So they got a service you can pay for. They got free stuff as well. You go aim maps, all sorts of fun stuff. Most of us know what I'm talking about. Aimlabs. Aimlabs sponsors a lot of other people's content. They got a lot of kind of creators going, but they also will dip in and help TOs out. You know, they're an advertiser sponsor. But this last weekend, they did their own challenge using their own tool set and got some great casters involved, got them all having fun. Really, really neat shit. This is this is just like one of them feel-good, fun events that also, like, it's good marketing for them, good shit. You know, I don't even know what to say other than this was really neat to watch.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's Wild West themed here as well, the Aimlab Skills Challenge. So I love this. Look, the game is, I call it a game because it plays like one. It fills a niche that Kovacs also does to a degree, but I think Aimlab personally is just better. I love what you can do with it. If you haven't tried it, please do. There are a lot of, they've already had partnerships already with like the Valorant Challenges series, for example, the VCT, Valorant Champions Tour, where they actually have a bunch of maps that simulate retake scenarios and stuff like that have either, you know, that either occur in the game of Valorant or have occurred in like a epic moment in pro play. We have to try and replicate that. So they're doing a great job of the game that essentially, Scott, is clicking balls. Yeah, homie. Clicking balls. That's all you have to do here.
Best ball clicker ever.
Look, I have found though that, you know, 10 to 15 minutes of this before I play, whether it's placebo or psychosomatic, I feel a lot better. And the game is integrated also with the API of a lot of these FPS games. So you can read your data from Valorant in Aimlab, and it can curate exercises to help you improve at certain aspects that the system is determined that you may be lacking in. So it's fucking sick. As someone like me who likes to, you know, I mean, I try and exercise, right? So repetition is a huge part of my sort of life. And you know, being able to repeat things under sort of non-match circumstances, where if I get shot in the head, I have to wait for 2 minutes to go again.
Yeah.
Is really, really helpful. Also, shout out to DDK, because he's actually the guy behind, you know, running these events. That's actually sort of a little bit of a gig of his at the moment. So I loved it, man. And Corey, by the way, just fucking quietly, you might know him, of course, as a veteran pro player, but he brought this insane brand of aim to the Overwatch League, and it was quite revelatory, because whatever. Because at the time, players heading from South Korea really dominated the genre with like the macro play. But when Corey joined and played for the Washington Justice at first, he showed that actually with this insane mechanical skill, you could have a huge impact on the game and actually dominate just by being an aim god, where people in Overwatch were starting to think the game was trending much more towards like a MOBA. But he reminded us all that like these hit scan heroes are fucking are sick, and if you are this cracked, you can make a big difference. So big fan of Corey.
Yeah, really cool stuff. And again, like, you know, this isn't the first aim type tool we've had. We've had this kind of stuff for years, just like strat tools and, you know, all those kind of things. But I love what you're talking about, that it's actually integrated with the games it's trying to help you get better at. So you get the feedback, you get real world scenarios to practice. Again, just really, really smart stuff from them. And again, DDK, yeah, doing a lot of work for these guys, which it shows. Really, really cool stuff. And yeah, having our own boy event in silly costumes is always fun, right? So shout out to Aimlab for doing that.
Seeing him in a sheriff costume was the last thing I thought I'd see, Scoots. You know what I mean? Yeah, good looking out there.
And
of course, shout out to Jess as well.
Yeah, and the final point on it is, I guess the tools people use to get better at esports are becoming esports themselves, because the kid just won money doing it, right? So Aimlabs is now an esport. So the esports.
Yeah, no, it's isn't that great? It's very meta, right?
Yeah,
esport inside my esport technically, but I'm serious. Like, I'm shilling for this game, and I'm not sponsored by them at all. But like, I just couldn't believe it. It took so fucking long for this to exist. In Counter-Strike, they had like workshop maps where you could practice your aim, and they were sick.
Yeah.
For me, who's just like, I'm absolute dog water attack shooters. You know, in Overwatch, you can just like run around. You can like, I don't know, slam 200 milligrams of Adderall, no fucking worries, just bounce off the wall. In tack shooters, like, you really have to have the mechanical patience and sort of precision nailed down. So, yeah, I think the game is going places for sure, and I really recommend anybody to use it, because there are a lot of features in the game that, you know, it allows you to match your sensitivity to the game. It like reads your sense and all this sort of stuff. I don't know, it's just really good. It's just a great idea, and it's nice to see that concept getting fleshed out to this degree. So thumbs up, Aimlab. Let's go, baby.
Thumbs up. All right, we're going to take a quick little break. A couple housekeeping notes before we take a break. I forgot to remind you folks, we do questions and answers at the end. Ask your question in chat. We'll get it answered if we like it or maybe hate it, but it's a good question. I'm also going to talk about a shitload of Counter-Strike news after the break. Be right back.
Welcome back, everybody, to the breakdown. In essence, the twins of esports talk shows. I'm going to call it that for the time being. Great to be back here, of course, with SirScoots. And yeah, I'm still in a box, everybody. Thanks for joining us, as we've already covered a little bit of the news this week, mostly talking about things, how things have been with Halo and, of course, the Aimlab 1v1. But, Scott, listen, I think this is probably close to your heart and definitely of interest to anybody who, you know, is keen on high-level FPS esports. We just had, you know, a huge event over the last few days. The Blast Premier World Final, right? Now, this is a $1 million prized event. It's on the same tier as like IEM, sort of, you know, or sort of EPL finals. Like, it is just under major tier in terms of pricing, in terms of prestige, in terms of the teams that were there. We talked a little bit in the last episode, Scott, about how impressed we are, I think, at what Blast are doing. And I think this event was really no exception. Great combination of fantastic production value, great talent, and also some of the biggest teams in Counter-Strike going at it. Big fan of this event, man. And yeah, how much did you manage to catch?
Yeah, I caught quite a bit of it. I was, you know, trying to double dip over the weekend, watching me some Halo, watching me from Counter-Strike. And again, it reminded me, I'm like, what year is this right now? Again, we did give props to Blast last week. They've come a long way from when they showed up as a TO in Counter-Strike, from their formatting to what their stages look like, what their desk looks like, the people they hire, just amazing stuff. And this was the culmination of kind of their season of events, their world final. It was supposed to be in front of a crowd as well. As the players in the building, they had to change their plans at the last minute and not have fans in the building to be safe. A bummer. But sometimes like studio events with just talent and players run really smooth, really tight. You can do a lot of things you can't do in a big arena. Your money can be spent differently. So, you obviously lose the luster and the yell and the scream of the crowd, but man, it does make some things way easier on production. And it looked great. And again, one thing I got to give them props for right away they finally, and not necessarily this event, but they finally got away with their black on black on black on black on black set. They had black lucite desk on a black shiny floor with a black backdrop. And it was just like, no. And they
impressive, yeah.
Yeah,
impressive.
really nice. This silver gold thing they got. Chef's kiss blast.
I'm
stuff.
about that. That always screams prestige to me, right? Black and gold, like something about that is almost royal to me. So
yeah,
I loved it. You know what I love about Blast is that the tone, man, of their broadcast is it's accessible. It feels laid back. The talent are a big part of this, I think.
Yes.
Right? I think Frey's a great host, and I was having Yanko on any desk.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible. I had the pleasure of working quite a few Counter-Strike events with a few of these guys in sort of minor roles as side stage hosts and stuff like that. And they are really, with some notable exceptions, some of the most awesome people in the industry to work with. So big shout out to them. I love this. You see this video? So obviously Australis and Liquid end up going head to head in this tournament. I just fucking got a kick out of this. Oh man. So obviously, pretty intimate camera shot here as teams are getting ready to walk out the tunnel. And we get some fucking interaction. We get some banter between the teams, man. Look at this. Look at this.
Yeah. And again, this is a culmination. These guys have been trash talking each other for a while. Like if you're familiar, obviously this is like Australis is like thorn in their side. Like they just have a really hard time with Liquid. Liquid currently very dead team walking right now. Very dead team walking. We'll talk about it in the silly season roster part. So even funnier because after this match, Liquid beat them. Right, and Zipnik's tweets, we just can't beat this fucking team, right? Fun banter, and Counter-Strikers, obviously I also spend a lot of time traveling around with not only talent, but a lot of the players, and they're so good at this. Like, they're so good at the trash talk side of it and having some fun, having some banter, and leaving it right there in that hallway, right? That's, no one gets mad over this shit, and again, that makes personalities, that makes fans excited of someone, or, oh, you're a villain. I don't like you anymore, Stewie. How dare you, I love that shit, right? But you can do
this without, like, offending people, right? No one's going to be offended by that, you know what I mean? But explain this to me, right, Scott, as someone who I'd say has watched less and less Counter-Strike over the years because I've been busy with, other titles. I mean, they might be tweeting, we can't beat this fucking Liquid team, but they got shit on by Vitality in that first round. Absolutely dumpstered. You know what I mean? I obviously no one's really crying about the Australis era anymore. It's definitely long since over, but this team seems to have more problems than just Team Liquid.
Yeah, I mean, sure. You can't beat that team. There's other teams that you're having a hard time beating. Yeah, I mean, obviously Australis is not what they were. The era team has been replaced. We'll be talking about Navi a little later in the broadcast. They obviously are now the team to beat. Long time coming. Long time right at that edge of the team to beat, but not with the wins. And now they're just stacking the fucking victories up, which is awesome. But, and again, talking about Counter-Strike, talking about the players and how they react and whether it's trash talking or whatever, again, we've got a lot of dead teams. We got a lot of craziness going on. We're going to get into all that. But I think what we want to chat about is Apex. And you wanted to talk about this interview of his a little bit, right?
Yeah, let's roll it.
This last month, are you proud?
Of course I am. It's been 3 years we worked together with this team, and personally it's something special to leave such people like Remy, like Extaz. Yeah, that's it.
Dan, thank you. Go off yourself.
An incredibly emotional time for Apex, being the pioneer, the in-game leader of this roster, and now the rumors are saying, a lot of these members are going to be departing from this squad that he has handcrafted himself. So I'm not surprised that he's incredibly emotional coming off this game.
Again,
I mean,
right here.
Wow. Well, Scott, here's the thing. Like, I've interviewed Apex a few times, especially back during his tenure on G2. We're talking about a 12-year veteran of the game, and someone who, in fairness, we've definitely seen the emotional side from him, but normally he's quite stoic. Like a lot of the French players are. Like, for example, Happy, right? You wouldn't always get a ton out of him in an interview, or you could say the same of Scream when he was on that team, right? These guys were pretty together, but you could see just how much this had meant to Apex, and these interviews are hard to pull off, So shout out to Banks there as well for displaying some real humanity in that particular moment, because I know a lot of interviewers may not sort of know how to react there, but man, I mean, this is pretty sad to see that some of these teams obviously are. It's weird, right? Coming into a tournament knowing that this team is already falling apart. It feels a little weird and obviously sad. And you can see Apex really demonstrating that. So yeah, I got a bit choked up watching. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe Freya did too. I could hear the tremor in her voice. Can't blame her, really.
I mean,
It's
hard
pretty
not
intense.
to, right? Like, I mean, and again, Dan's a great guy. Been a champion of Counter-Strike for several versions of Counter-Strike even. So, awesome dude. And again, this is the yin to that Stewie clip in the tunnel, right? The fun banter, the emotion of a player about to play and ribbing each other. And then the aftermath of not only a defeat, but a defeat that meant the last time he gets to play with some of these guys, maybe ever. Because they were on a nice little like dead man walking run too. They were beating people they shouldn't, and they were playing out of their minds because it didn't matter anymore as well. Again, caught him in the end. So like all that just again captured there for us to consume. And again, he's a hell of a guy. We do a lot of stuff with the PA together. He's one of the and again just super solid dude. It'll be interesting to see how that team reforms. A lot of rumors of who's coming. Some are staying. So yeah, shout outs to Apex and Vital. And I do want to. I'm glad you brought up James because I wanted to bring up James. I'm also I used to be on air talent. I guess I am for this show, but like. People's jobs are to do their jobs, right? So I often won't like pat you on the back just because you did your fucking job, right? But this guy, if those of us that are Counter-Strikers that know what James has gone through in the last 6 months, the fact he's even standing there with a microphone in his fucking hand right now is amazing. Yep. He's had a hell of a fucked up year. His wife passed away 2 events ago that he was at live. He soldiered 2, maybe even 3 events, soldiered through it, came back for this. He's been grinding to try to get to tier 1 events. He's doing that now for multiple games, does a lot of WePlay stuff as well. And again, salt of the earth fucking lad too, if you will. So many issues growing up, not a silver spooner by, again, James Banks, sweetheart. So to see him go through this, and again, to see him hug and then catch up to Apex. And there's no way James thought he was still on camera when he hugged him again, right? He thought that was an off-camera moment when he was, So again, just shout outs to you, James. You've been killing it. Take some fucking time off and get yourself right if you need to. Because I think he's grieving via working. And that can bite you in the ass, too. That will catch up to you one day. So just take care of yourself, brother. And yeah, so again, Blast, bravo, bravo, bravo. Let's get to how it ended. The big boys did it again. I think 4th event in a row. Navi takes the win. They beat Gambit in the finals. Good match, but again, when Navi's kind of on the game, they're kind of on the game.
Absolutely. I think this has been discussed a lot. I think the topic of like eras in esports has been brought up a ton. And I think it's really hard sometimes to actually declare an era until it's already over, right? Usually, it's up for discussion and such like that, but it's really hindsight that allows us to make the final call on that particular decision. But I'm starting to think that we can call this one already. Navi, putting it together again. And you're right, this last map, Inferno, not very fucking close. I'll be honest with you. It was like an 11 rounds on the CT side for Navi. It was like 11-4 at half. And I'm thinking, okay, I mean, this is about it. Gambit have absolutely run out of gas. But I will acknowledge, though, just how impressive and incredible the CIS are in Counter-Strike right now. It is quite a sight to behold.
Yes, they are dominating. And again, I think one of the neat things about Simple is obviously he's been in the discussion as the greatest Counter-Strike player every year for many years. And that was the running joke. He's the best. His team can't fucking get over the hump. They can't win a major. They can't consistently win T1 events. I don't know what happened to them during COVID. I don't know if it's just a combination of the players all gelling, him getting support when he needs it, or when he has a bad game, everyone is stepping up, but it's all working when it needs to work, right? It's one of those just lightning in a bottle moments. Australis had a run for a while, gone, and this is a nice run. Now, to your point, is it an era? I think it is. I definitely think. Who's going to beat them? We're going to see what happens with the silly season of who restructures with what. But on paper, who the fuck is going to beat these guys consistently? I don't know.
Yeah. And I remember when Blade
Sponge,
went
who's
from
gonna
being
beat
a
them?
player on Flipside Tactics, and then started being, became a coach. This guy, you know what? Like he was such a decent, reasonable human. I really enjoyed talking with him, and I think that he's been able to take this team to incredible heights. So great to see that turnaround from him as well. And I think guys like Boombler, I seem to recall, were getting a lot of criticism early on, like during the doldrums for this team. But yeah, a true coming of age. And you're right. Who is going to beat them, right? It doesn't seem like this team's showing too many signs of slowing down right now. This might be a real era.
And let's just cap this off with a little bit of some stats to show you why we're talking about an era. This will kind of put it in perspective for you how much they've done this year as a team. And then the Blast standings. Let's go ahead and show that. Just get an idea. Oh, wait. Okay, that's my bad. I jumped Jason. My bad. I love fucking with Jason every so often. Are you on camera today, Jason? Are we going to see you? Maybe not. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so this is their year, right?
Results.
So shout outs to Liquipedia.
Yep.
So all the yellow on the left, those are first places or first to thirds if it was a tie kind of thing, I guess. That Blast Premier was just groups. But all that gold is they won the fucking thing, right? So, Jesus, right? 1/5 place in there. 2 seconds, the rest, they won their group or they won the whole goddamn event. So again, they're having a run. Now, I think the neat one is about halfway down. Intel Grand Slam Season 3. What that means is they won 4 events that got them that $1 million. That wasn't an event. That was having to win 4 other events in a certain time frame. Liquid's won one of those, and Australis has won one of those. So now Navi's got themselves a Grand Slam. Thank you, Intel, for giving that money. Cool shit. Again, I don't know who beats them. I don't know. But it's also Counter-Strike.
Yeah, I mean...
So, fuck.
This is huge as well, I think, and this is something that really kind of solidified it for me here as well. Now, the Grand Slam obviously does help a lot, right? Obviously, that 1 million sort of thrown on the top here, but in one calendar year, the team's obviously taken over $4 million. And Australis, obviously, back in 2018, had an excellent year as well. Let me just put this out there. This is a calendar year in which we have lockdown, right? Where we have less of these events, presumably. Yeah?
Yeah.
And they still fucking beat Australis' record during a time where this wasn't the case. So pretty hard to argue with that. Again, when the Grand Slam was first announced, I was like, I was going to fucking win that. I mean, it's too competitive here in Counter-Strike. We've had, 3 teams have sort of won it so far.
I think Intel and ESL
Scott,
didn't think it was going to win it. And they're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, get fucked, guys. I mean, shit, you want to put that money down, Intel? That's
no,
right.
not the same teams don't win consistently. It'll be all spread out. No one will. Carmack's like, fuck me. $3 million later.
Do you think he's fucking paying for it? No way. He's on the phone
I can't hear him.
We have another one, guys.
Keep talking.
All right, yeah. So Scott's going to pick up his IFB from the ground here, but this is some footage from Simple, who, again, he's always in the discussion of one of the greatest players.
I get now. Yeah,
I think of at least this era or of all time. I mean, Simple, incredible stuff from him. And Scott, look, I think a big part of what has allowed Navi to reach this consistency was not necessarily Simple, but the rest of his teammates really starting to get in lockstep with him performance-wise. But Simple has really never let his foot off the gas, right?
Yeah.
The guy's so humble, has fantastic mindset. He's got many, many years, I think, ahead of him as a pro player here. And just, one of the most incredible Cinderella stories coming out of his region. Remember, his guy was discovered, playing Rank S, right? Just a pug star turned into an international superstar.
Yep. And then you start thinking, we skipped a major. We dropped a major during this whole thing, right?
Yes.
So they could have won one before the one they won. It's just crazy. So, and a great guy. I've had lots of conversations with Simple over the years at events. Super, super down to earth. Sure, he's got swagger in interviews, but generally a kind, solid, badass human being. Obviously phenomenal at the game of Counter-Strike too. We've got a little bit of an interview. We thought it would be nice. He does every so often talk to us and bless us. So Freya and the gang at Blast was able to get some words with him after they won. Let's go ahead and listen in to Simple too. See what he has to say.
I want to do a bit more, you know, but I don't want to do less, and I understand that I need just play it 24/7 like I did before.
It's almost mind-blowing to hear that from you, that you're concerned about, you know, not being good enough for your team.
Yeah,
When you've just been head and shoulders above the rest.
I don't want to imagine when I'm gonna be washed up, so I try my best to stay here, you know.
Well, there's definitely no doubting your determination coming into any competition. I just want to give you a moment to say anything to the fans that have been supporting you throughout this year and seeing you lift so many trophies coming into the end of it.
Where should I look?
Yeah,
Camera?
this big one there.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Hello, operator. Okay, just thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the CES in Denmark for the last 2 events, and I hope you enjoyed the major. And I want to wish you, your family, and your friends Happy New Year and Merry Christmas. I hope you'll do well. Just set some goals for 2022 and just do it. If I did it, you can do it as well.
I love.
Set some goals, Mitch. Set some goals, Mitch. That's your goal.
Yeah, I've got goals.
You got goals?
Yeah, I definitely, yeah, I've got a few of those. So thanks for that reminder, Sasha. But yeah, look, I mean, the guy is, you talked about salt the earth kind of people, right? Simple really is one of those. He wants to do more, which is something that people kind of don't realize. But once you achieve your dreams, you have to kind of find new ones there. So credit to Simple for continuing to sort of aim higher there. And I think he still has a lot to offer, you know, the scene in general. He's just, like I said, a consummate professional, real superstar. He's grown up a lot, you know what I mean? There were definitely issues with some of his behavior early on. Like, let's not ignore that, but I think he's overcome that in a huge way. And there's no point dwelling on it or, you know, or anything, because, yeah, he's a real asset, I think, to Counter-Strike in general. There are a few of these players, though, Scoots, that you could consider quote-unquote assets to Counter-Strike. One of them obviously made some interesting moves earlier on. Let's talk about Nikolai Reitz, of course, device previously of that Australis super unit, the one that really kind of, I remember, they really talked about mental coaching and what helped them sort of achieve their era of dominance here. But, you know, he moved over to NIP in quite a shocking move, right? He relocated also to do this. But we're starting to hear some rumors about where he might be headed next.
Yeah, this story broke and then kind of unbroke, I guess, if you know, depending on what you want to believe and where you want to think the actual facts might be in something like this. But the story broke that he was keen to go home. He wants to return to Australis, return to the city, move back, because part of his going to NIP was relocating. His girlfriend was in town where he was relocating, et cetera, you know, starting their life. You know, we always have to remember these people are human. They have lives outside of sitting in front of a keyboard playing a video game. So they have to always think about those things and what might be best for them. So at that time, you know, again, we don't know what the story is, that this is bullshit, by the way, that he ain't going nowhere. But it broke that he was keen to return to Australis. He broke up with his girlfriend and he doesn't want to be there anymore. And maybe he's missing the vibe, doesn't like. But he's come out, you know, because obviously 2 sides of a story, 3 sides of a story. He's then come out because obviously everyone picked it up, right? The sources say,
sure,
as they do, it's their job, right? So. You don't make this kind of money and have this kind of fan base, and your personal life is going to be talked about. Now, if this is, I trust that the people that wrote these articles have some decent sources. These people that are publishing this shit,
it's Luis Mira.
Yeah, they're not making shit up.
This is not just some fucking random journalist off the street, Scott.
So it's always, where's that, you know, nugget of truth? So anyway, he comes out through a series of tweets. We just grabbed number 3 out of 5 because that's the one that basically says this shit is nonsense. What you're talking about is nonsense, and me leaving is nonsense. So can we stop talking nonsense? Okay, we'll stop talking nonsense. I mean, we're obviously covering both sides of it. I don't know if he's leaving or not. We're not here to be journalists and go research stories necessarily. So what'll be interesting is, you know, if he's having to cover, if he is thinking about it, if there is something happening, because we've seen this with players, we've seen this with talent, we've seen this with team owners, we've seen this with game devs. Something gets leaked, they deny it, it ends up being true. Now, obviously, if
what kind of world do we live in, Scott? Where I find myself trusting a journalist over a pro player here. What is this? Am I wrong? Is there something wrong with me?
Yeah, no, I didn't mean it that way. No, yes, there's something very wrong with you. Very, very wrong with you. Yeah, you know, so now, how these things telephone call and like spiral is maybe he was having drinks with some guys and we're like, oh yeah, I miss it here. Gosh, coming back would be neat. You know, gosh, and that you know, like it was some rando, or he's pissed about something and he's chatting with someone. Like who knows where it started? But he's basically, as of now, quashed it. Said ain't going fucking nowhere, because that would be huge. If you think if this story has legs, Nip paid a whole lot of fucking money for this guy, right? So does that mean Australis buys him back? Did Nip pay the whole bill yet? Do they just go, hey, well, you know what, just give him back, and you don't know it's the rest. Like it very interesting. And I guess also like we like to talk about the topic, but then we like to talk about the ramifications of the topic and the bigger thing. The bigger thing is a lot of people, I think, got upset that we're talking about Device's private life, that he broke up with a girlfriend, that that these things are being discussed, right? This is private. This is between him and his girlfriend and his teammates and Nip if he's leaving or whatever. Now, private citizen Scott's like, yeah, man, let the guy have his breakup if that's the case and all these things. But like, just like me, when you decide to sit in front of a camera, when you decide to start putting your shit out there, you got to take it. All pro athletes have to deal with it. All actors have to deal with tabloid shit, true or not. So I'm sorry that maybe this is a salacious, bullshitty rumor, but like, if it's credible in the sense of the people that are writing these believe it's credible and they're writing it up, you got to let it kind of get written up. Does that make sense? I know I'm rambling a little bit about it, but like, I don't think I don't think we can get mad that it's being reported on that he might want to go home.
Listen, Scott, I mean, I'm just a TV, so don't take my opinion too far. But I honestly, look, yeah, I think Device probably knows exactly how this news got out. I reckon he can probably trace a potential, unless it's just completely made up, but why? I mean, and again, like the guy is like a pretty, recognized journalist. He probably can trace back what happened here. You know what I mean? I understand if he's not going to be like, yeah, well, like I said some stuff I shouldn't have or whatever, but I don't think that. I think he knows why this sort of happened. There's nothing wrong with saying these rumors are not true. That's fine. I don't really have an issue with him saying any of that. And yeah, like I think if I was in his position, I'd be like kind of mad that people are prying, but also this guy is posting pictures of him looking sad on social media. There's actually a great picture of like Banks on stage and then like a divider, and he's sat on the other side of it with like his head in his hands. It's on his Twitter, and he sort of says, I've been having a really tough time lately, yada, 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 right? So, and look, it's not that much of a stretch for people to assume about his relationship, right? They relocated, things didn't work out. That's fine. Device is choosing to share some aspects of his personal life and his own struggle. So, that's not going to quash people, sharing rumors about him, and this is his decision. He's putting this information out there. So I think it's fine. I think, NIP probably would have been like, hey, listen, we haven't talked about this. You might have had a discussion with some guy at a bar, then this got out or whatever, but, we're not there yet. So maybe shut this down for the sake of our team, because your teammates probably don't feel great about there being rumors of you having lost faith in this team while you still have to play with them. Because it's a trust thing as well. Yeah. If you're playing on a team with someone and you hear these rumors, like it will definitely affect how you feel about them, even if you don't say it, even if it's only minor. It's in the back of your mind for sure. So you have to be pretty responsible when you're playing at this level for this kind of salary.
Yeah, and again, it's probably more of a case of like Device himself gets it, like this is what he signed up for. So rumors, true or not, or things leaked, it's the nature of it. I guess what frustrates me is the people that get angry on his behalf. How dare you talk about his private life? Well, he's a public figure. It is the world we live in.
Sorry. Why are people being funny about that? Like, I don't think anyone, you should be held accountable, even if you're some random egg on Twitter for like harassing him directly about this, right? Don't do that. Like, you're a cunt if you do that. Sure. But if you're like, when people saying, no, stop discussing with each other in an open forum about what do you want? That's what Twitter is literally for. Yeah. Twitter and Reddit are designed for baseless speculation. That is the underpinning fundamental of their platform. You can't get mad about that. No. You cannot use Reddit and then on the other hand, decry Reddit for being used for its intended purpose. Sorry, just fucking let it go. You know what I mean? Go for a walk. Touch some grass. Holy shit.
Touch grass. I need some grass on my desk. All right, let's move on.
There's no grass in here, by the way. It's kind of industrial. Oh, there's a tree out the back there. Maybe I can get a patch of grass outside, in my Aussie corner.
We got a fake Christmas tree for the holiday up there in the corner. I decorated the warehouse for you too, and you didn't show up. Did you see your
Oh, what do you
Aussie
mean?
ball
I'm here.
behind you? You have an Aussie yoga ball
Yeah, I
now.
did.
We did that for you.
I kind of like that. I don't do yoga. I mean, that's
know,
kind of, it doesn't really play into my sort of a toxic masculinity image kind of thing, but I'll take it. That's
Hey,
cool. No worries.
toxic masculinity is a little later on the run of show. We're not quite there yet.
Oh,
Thank you.
sorry.
Thank you.
We'll get there. Sorry.
That worked out well. All right.
Wait.
Continuing
about more
on
rumors,
the
more rumors.
rumors/not rumors news in the world of Counter-Strike. So back to the Stewie story where they were talking mad shit in the tunnel and having good times. What we do know is now confirmed because Joka Steve, the manager of Team Liquid's Counter-Strike team, made a video. We do now officially know that Grim, Stewie 2K, and Fallen are no longer in the Liquid active roster. So they will be leaving. There's all sorts of rumors of where they might be going. Confirmations of those are not accurate yet in the sense of like announced and signed and stuff. But again, Liquid has lost 3 of their core. And Alige has become one of the team owners. He's invested into Liquid, so he ain't going nowhere.
Equity, baby. That's how you fucking get out of esports, by the way, without being destitute without a college degree.
Very interesting.
Equity.
We need to add this topic because we ran out of time this week, but I think the idea of players owning equity and the good and the bad of that is a really interesting conversation. But yeah, more power to Hitbox. And I think it was Hungrybox and Hitbox TVs later in the show.
Yep.
Hungrybox and Elige. I think there was a third that bought in. But anyway, unrelated. So again, silly season has officially started. If you're not really familiar with Counter-Strike, we are now entering our winter break period. Roster locks for the last event are locked. So teams are now starting to figure out what the hell they're going to do next year. And often, not all contracts, but a lot of contracts are calendar year. So they're also ending December, starting back up in January. Lots of crazy stuff going on. Stewie is rumored to maybe go to EG. Grim, maybe. This is where I get a little lost on the latest rumors. Our expert in the control room, Tyler, might have to chime in. But I think what's kind of neat is we go in North America goes through this thing of like NACS is dead and all the team owners suck and they hate Counter-Strike. Then they love Counter-Strike and Counter-Strike is going to win again and NA is going to do well. Then it's this constant thing. So we're on the upswing now, right? We had this huge valley, tons of teams quit, a lot of people folded, a lot of people went to Valorant. Well, now we got Complexity rumors that they're either going to go after Copenhagen Flames or they're going to sign this North American kind of trio, add Grims, add Junior. So Complexity is looking to re-juggernaut themselves in a different way, so they're not staying away too long. So this will be neat to see. Obviously, on one token, if they pick up Copenhagen Wolves, they're a little bit more geared towards closer to Tier 1, top 20, top 30, starting right out. But a European roster, if they go this extra salt, they are the love of North America. They're supporting the extra salt guys that have been just fucking grinding, and they're kind of waving that NA flag. They are an NA team.
When was the last time Complexity were like a top CS team? How long has it been?
Well, I mean, they tried. Top would have been. Yeah. Top. Jason just chimed in our year 2006. They never hit their stride in Glow in that sense, right? They tried a few times. They stumbled a few times. But then it started getting really expensive, right? And they didn't have the money. And then they decided to go for it, spend the money. Juggernaut, when they became a Dallas Cowboys company, they got facilities in Frisco. That's what I was going to bring up. Like maybe this extra salt, maybe this North American team would move to Dallas, would train out of there, would try to get that going. Whereas I doubt the Wolves are coming over.
Isn't this what Jason Lake was like? Yeah, I'm cutting the team because this isn't good enough. Didn't he just like fucking go public about that? That he was like not happy with it. Like,
oh yeah. Oh yeah,
this guy's cut from the same cloth as Hastro, man. These OG guys, like they're rustic. You know what I mean? They're
let's build a juggernaut.
Prickly, curmudgeonly, and they're just let's build a juggernaut. I mean, I would say that good understanding of good optics, no pun intended, and how to sort of work a PR spin with an esports team was not part of the requisite skill set back in their heyday. And they have not necessarily adopted that skill set since then. I remember seeing this and I was like, well, come on, mate. Like, Jason, really? I guess he just wanted to show his fans like some real transparency, but it never comes off well when like you're talking a little flippantly on social media about people's livelihoods. It's just, yeah, it didn't kick off for me anyway.
Yeah, I mean that was a brutal tweet because he did it moments after they lost, and like the players were like it was brutal. Now keep in mind the juggernaut he tried to build that he ended up not being able to build. COVID hits, right? So he talks his mad fucking trash, ego, let's go. Starts to build the team, starts to build the roster, going down the right path. COVIDed. Separation of players, all half go to Europe. Some don't want to live in Europe anymore. So like, it's kind of like Cloud9 building the Colossus. I want to judge these things harshly. I really fucking do. You all know me, right? But like, you got this COVID thing that kind of fucked both these projects in a way that we just don't know what would have happened if the rosters Henry wanted to build could have succeeded and ground in a facility and worked. And we don't. Same thing
Scott,
with the juggernaut.
If you're going to be charitable about that, you have to be charitable about Flashpoint, motherfucker. Because that's the same thing. That's the party line they pushed as well. They obviously COVID kind of scuppered a lot of their plans, and you know that's why they're
I was charitable.
Right,
go watch when I did this show by myself, man. I was all over being nice to those fucks. Yes, those fucks. I gave them the benefit of too many fucking doubts along the way. Anyway, so that's some more roster stuff. I'm looking at my run of show to see where we're at. Okay, so now. Yeah, so now that's kind of the roster stuff. And again, if you're a Counter-Strike fan, you're well aware of this shit. There'll be plenty of shows that are covering rosters, YouTube stuff. Keep an eye on that Reddit. It's going fucking nutty. And it's very interesting to see how it'll settle out for 2022. Going to be excited. Again, who's going to beat fucking Navi? Who's going to beat fucking Navi? Now, ESL dropped some really cool news, depending on who you are. You might not think it's cool. You might be a fucking weirdo.
So a really cool news for those participants of the right side of history. How about that, Scott?
Does
that work?
I love it.
Right.
Yeah. So let's give this the credit it's due as an announcement. So Mitch, what's going on with ESL?
Well, I mean, they announced, ESL have run women's Counter-Strike tournaments before, right? Especially in conjunction with Intel Extreme Masters, but it was always, side stage. It was always, less prize money. There was some situations where they had to play with like crappy monitors and stuff because the people in the regular league wouldn't play with them. So they've announced a $500,000 women's circuit in 2022. It's fleshed out, right? Cash Cups online, leagues in Europe and North America that run online. And then we've got DreamHack Dallas, DreamHack Valencia finals, LAN finals, 1, 2, 3, USA, Spain, and Sweden, plus leagues in the mix there. This is pretty comprehensive. It covers much of the year, provides a lot of opportunities for women to get involved here. So great to see. Not the first initiative championing women in gaming that ESL have announced, but definitely their strongest look in that regard in the past. Now, very quickly, just want to mention that I don't know too much about how they're interpreting entry sort of requirements for other underrepresented and marginalized genders here. Valorant ran into a little bit of a snafu with this particular situation with their Game Changers tournaments here, but I have full confidence that ESL have the people on board to guide them in making the right decisions here. Scott, look, this is, I don't know why, honestly don't know why this is a discussion right now. It's like the most obvious thing. It really is a no-brainer, and yet we are still in the current year discussing whether this is necessary or good or not. I don't really get it. It's great. It's not a fucking zero-sum game. Just because $500,000 is going to a women's circuit doesn't mean that $500,000 would otherwise have been going to, men's or open circuits. People seem to think that this is taking money away from, I don't know. It is bizarre to me, but we'll maybe get onto that. It's very clear there's some fantastic women competitors here in Counter-Strike. We see it in Valorant as well. But of course, we had the absolute concave head takes today coming out as a result of this. Throw your slurs in there as well. This is a good tweet because I think it embodies like the crux of this moronic movement from these cave dwellers. So a decent one to start us off in discussion, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to talk about how cool it is first, right? And then we'll get into the stupidity of it. So first off, good initiative. Counter-Strike has a legendary, like we are one of the games that did support women playing. We do have champions. They did have events. Sapphire comes from the pedigree of going to CPLs, and then women-only events and winning stuff. And again, so it's not
just stuff. She won a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like multiple world championships. Esports World Cup had a women's-only event for when they were doing country stuff. So again, this is not new, segregation, if you will, separation stuff. First off, there is no male-only tournaments in any esport, as far as I'm aware. So it's not like it's separated in the sense of like, it's not, like, I guess I'm using the wrong word, because it's not already segregated, right? It's what we're doing is kind of helping them grow a scene that needs all sorts of help, both in exposure, both in kind of comfort level's the wrong word, but like it's a really caustic world if you're a woman playing a video game anyway, casual or not. We can never fucking know that. And I'm tired of white guys. Well, I'm tired of guys. I'm a white guy. I'm tired of white guys trying to fucking pretend like they have any fucking clue what it's like to log into a server and play a video game as someone other than them. Right? It's asinine to think what Heather's life is like, or anyone. It could be any game, right? It just blows my mind that people try to fucking mansplain. It's not as bad as you think. You have no fucking idea because you're not them. It doesn't affect you the same way. Anyway, it just really pisses me off when people try to put themselves in those kind of shoes. My point is that it's additive, right? Like, yes, if you were a women's team and you want to fucking enter all the ESL shit that just got announced, go for it. But also, if you're that exact same women's team and you want to fucking try to make it into Pro League like everybody else, you can do that. If you want to qualify for all the other Counter-Strike events we offer, you can fucking do that, right? It's awesome. But it's a really fucking hard road. And if you don't give a little bit of path, a little bit of help, which again, we've seen go gangbusters with Game Changers, you kind of open the door to letting women experience what it's like to be competitive and have this environment to then decide, A, if they're good enough, B, if they want to do it. But if they don't even get kind of a shot at the window, they ain't gonna fucking try. And that's all the Heather and these guys are saying is like, it just helps give us a place to figure it all out, give us a little bit of a home. Like, I don't think any of them are sitting there going, well, we can beat fucking Navi if we could just play them. They're not fucking stupid. It's you people at home that are being fucking stupid, right? It's additive. It costs no money to any existing budget from Intel, ESL, or anything. And they've already announced they're trying to build and be a helpful ecosystem. So this isn't just ESL going, you know what, we're going to throw some women's tournaments. They're going to lean into production roles. They're going to lean into on-air talent roles. They're going to lean into like women all around the ecosystem of these events. That's fucking awesome. That's more jobs. That's more people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, playing the game. I just don't get like I don't fucking get where the angst always comes from. And it's not the first fucking time these people have lost their fucking weirdo minds. Like, why do you fucking care? Like, how does it affect you? How does it affect your favorite fucking men's team? It doesn't. If anything, your favorite men's team's gonna fucking get revenue because they're gonna pick up a women's division and get money from fucking more sponsors. You're fucking idiots. You're fucking idiots. Whew! Jason, is that what you wanted me to do when I came back for the breakdown? Is that what you were looking for?
I remember Scott telling me before we started the show, it's like, yeah, Mitch, yeah, you like that, Jason? Let's go. Scott was like, yeah, no, Mitch, we're, I don't like to rant as much anymore. You know what I mean? I'm kind of leaning on you a little bit for that. All right, nice to see you're back, you fuck. About time. Look, I think, I think the biggest point that gets brought up, right, is that people try and tell us it's a zero-sum game. Right?
Yes.
You need to, people who tell us this don't understand how events work. Of course you don't, because you fucking sat there in your gaming chair eating Doritos. You don't know how esports work, really. You just think you do. Like, it's not like Intel are like, okay, well, this $500,000 right here, it could go to a women's tournament or a men's tournament. No. They go, here is a budget that we specifically set aside for trying to create a space where women can compete without dealing with bullshit. And it's not as if it would go to men. Otherwise, it would go to more fucking processes or some other bullshit. This is how it works. I think that the fact of the matter is, I've been fortunate enough to play games with my partner and other women and people of other, sort of underrepresented genders in gaming. And 9 times out of 10, there is some bullshit that goes on in game. Like the player base in Valorant is disgusting, for example, for that. And Overwatch. Like I have played both with women and alone, and you can argue the sample size is small, but you don't know that for sure. I can guarantee you it is always more bullshit. Women absolutely face more bullshit. Do people talk shit to me in game? Yeah, sure. I get these little fucking Zoomer dickheads make fun of my accent when I play Valorant. So fucking what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that is entirely, I can deal with that. And it doesn't happen nearly as often as I see that women, face this bullshit. You guys need to accept that women cop more shit in games than men do. Full stop.
Yeah.
That's it. It happens. And so again, we can take positive action here to show that not everyone wants to fucking make life hard for women. This is, Jake, obviously, from the Overwatch League, made a decent tweet longer about this. It's just I don't know. Why are we still doing this? It's so easy. It's like, why do people get upset about shit that doesn't affect them at all? Just, sorry. And you know what the worst part about this is, Scott?
Don't apologize.
A couple of white guys just out here fucking talking about shit that doesn't even affect them. We don't have to face this, this marginalization that they do. But fuck me, if I can at least contribute in some way with my vitriolic rants to try and create a space, a platform where women feel more comfortable speaking up, then so be it. You know what I mean? It's not about me. It is about them. And I'd rather amplify those voices. But, I am more than happy to take up arms against dickheads on social media that do this sort of stuff. Good example. Similar, embarrassing. You're absolutely fucking embarrassing, bro. The stuff that I saw from him today, and similar, and I thought I had a fairly similar sense of humor with Similar as well. We're back and forth in the past here, and so I knew that some of his humor was a little bit edgy, right? But this is just embarrassing from someone that I really looked up to in the industry and really wanted to be like. I wanted to be like this guy. I loved his fashion. I thought his casting was great. Like I really idolized Similar. And yeah, I just, I don't know, man. Like, how have our upbringings and journeys through life sort of caused us, us, for example, but him and the rest of our industry to sort of diverge so much? I don't understand. It's just really sad to see. We can do a hell of a lot more, man.
Yeah, I don't get that take. And he had some other he went at Ryan from Rush B Media and his pronouns, and made a pronoun
Ryan just clowned
thing.
on him. It's so fucking easy to clown on people like this. Like what?
And it's like literally, what are you fucking doing? Why are you acting the idiot right now? And and what I like, a guy like Similar, again, arguably top caster of Counter-Strike, he's the kind of guy that would get hired to come to these events to mentor the up-and-coming women casters and show them how to fucking do it. He could be fucking helpful, but what does he decide to do? Be a fucking weirdo. Seriously, dude, why?
Weird.
Fucking why? Is it,
I don't know.
You need to be that edgy in your life right now? Like, fucking edge away, bro. Holy fuck me. Anyway, yeah.
Dumb.
Jesus.
Stupid. Can we not give these morons any more airtime? I'm fucking
yeah. Let's move on.
Can we talk about something else?
Yeah, let's move on. This is actually a fun one. Although, see, this is all Jason's plan. He puts Scott gets pissed off here in the run of show. Scott continues to talk about this because the next one is worst esport event that Scott was involved in, and he's pissed about it. Now I'm in the mood, Jason. Good call. I'm ready. I'm ready to talk about it.
Let's go, baby.
All right. So our next topic. And again, I will plug if you have any questions, you want to ask us anything about anything we've talked about today, or anything esporty, gaming related from us, we do a question and answer at the end of the show. So hit us up in chat. Daniel, Imagine, and the gang will grab that. And if we like it, we'll talk about it. Or if we hate it and it's a good question, we'll still talk about it. So now, moving on, Jason proposed to us worst esport event that you have worked. And for us to pontificate a little bit about not fun memories. Who's going first, Jason? Oh, I guess I'm going first. Okay.
You go first. Go
All
on.
right.
Yours is amazing. I remember this.
Okay. My worst event that I worked is the World Cup 2015. TWC 2015. Yeah, World Championship, not World Cup. It's modeled after the World Cup. It was a country by country, represent your country Counter-Strike tournament.
Counter-Strike, yeah.
Counter-Strike Global Offensive. It was Global Offensive. Run by Hitbox TV and Dr. A Failure, as I call him. Dr. A Failure is his tag, but right after that event, he was
was like, oh.
Yeah, before it's I'm all caught up on my cord. My cord's all fucked up. Dr. Failure ran this event. Fledgling little caster himself, worked for eFrag, was who kind of hired us, but they were on the Hitbox TV platform. If you remember, that was a streaming platform. And, you know, and granted, I've had some fucked up ones, but this one was by far the worst. I wrote some notes. So, again, this was a Counter-Strike tournament. You represented your country. Like, fucking Apex was there. And, like, fucking all these guys were, all our pros were there. Nightmare from fucking the get-go. So here's just a little B-roll. It was me and the crew. This is the crew that kind of traveled the world for a while. Me, Thor, and Richard. Yanko,
your best buddy.
Yeah.
Your best mate's there on your left, mate.
Not so much anymore. Yanko and I still get along. Hey, Yanko, shout out, bro. Yanko, I think this might have been actually Yanko's first analyst event. Might have been his first analyst event, if not one of his first. So anyway, so I get off the plane. I get to the hotel. We're in Belgrade, Serbia, I think. Hotel's nice, fancy.
Brilliant.
No, not Berlin. Not Berlin. It's definitely, I want to say Serbia or Belgrade.
Brilliant, I said.
Oh, brilliant, yeah. And nice hotel. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be good. And all my stuff with Dr. Failure in advance was fine. You know, when I ran desks, I always got asked who I wanted, you know, which was great. I don't know if everyone always gets that, but I always got to pick who sat next to me. So, yeah, shout out to...
Yes, the Real Old Boys Club is right here on your screens, everyone.
Yeah, they were always like, who do you want to be next to? I'm like, if you can get this guy, we work well together. I love him on the desk. Yeah, yeah. I didn't always get what I wanted, or they didn't want to hire or whatever, but anyway. So that's all going good. He gets a good, solid crew of talent, right? Some new kids, Blue's coming for his first Counter-Strike event. But anyway, all good. So I check in. I'm like, oh, nice hotel, all good. And then I bump into Jay Atkins. Jay Atkins is a behind-the-scenes director, producer, TD, all sorts of stuff over the years. English guy, worked for a bunch of companies, and he's been hired to be production director or producer. I don't know what his official title was, but I bump into him in the hotel lobby, and I'm like, hey, Jay. He's been there for like a day or so. I'm like, Jay, how's it going? And he's already fucking lost his mind. He's already beside himself. He's already like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't want to be here. I'm like, oh, God. Because he's the guy in my ear. He is our conduit, right? We're in an Eastern European country. They don't all speak English. He's the guy. He's in my, again, he's the behind-the-scenes guy for us, right? And we're not even fucking in the building yet, and he's lost his shit, right? And it turns out that then the reason he's losing his shit is they don't get the venue till like 7 p.m. the day before the event, so not enough load-in time. He's got to work all night to load in. He has been told now that the gear is all changed. They've now brought in a really old Eastern European TV truck. So all his videos, all his audios, everything he's brought has to actually be re-rendered to work in their system, right? It's not OBS. It's not being run that way. It's fucking it's not even expressions and shit like production talk. But everything's wrong. So he has to redo all the graphics, redo all the lower thirds, redo fucking the show when it comes to the assets, right? And I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh, God, Jay. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. So he goes off and, is doing his thing. I walk over and, to the event. That's when I find out we don't even have the event yet. There's shit still from the other event. They're not even loading in yet. I'm like, oh my fucking God. Because you got to load a stage in. You got to, it's just, I'm like, oh shit. And this isn't like ESL who's used to flipping an arena, right? This is eFrag. They don't do this kind of shit yet. So I'm like, oh, these kids are going to have some issues. A lot of volunteers, right? And it just keeps getting worse. So then I'm like, hey, where's the green room? Where do we set up? Where do we watch the matches once we're done with our segment? No green room, Scott. I'm like, what do you mean no green room? And I'm not trying to be like an egotistical, like fucking talent person. I'm like, where do we watch the matches? I need to watch the matches to talk about the matches. Where do we sit and watch? Oh, well, you could sit in the arena. Okay, if we sit in the arena, we'll constantly be bugged by the fans in the arena. Where can we watch the matches, talk, prepare for the show? We need a fucking closet. We need somewhere away with a TV so we can see the like. The doctor scrambles. He finds a fucking seating area out in the lobby, the foyer of the event where people are walking to and from, escalators going down. There's 2 levels it's a theater, right? And so,
Sure.
like, oh, we can put you right here, couches, and there's already a little viewing station. We'll just rope this off, and this can be your spot. And I'm like, so wait, so now you're telling me that our spot to watch and talk and prep the show and eat and fucking debrief and get our makeup done is right next to where all the fans are walking in and out of the vent all day long? Not good. Not good for anything. Because again, it'll be like, hey, Scoots, hey, Thorin. Like, they'll all get bugged. They're far more popular than me, right? So that, no green room. So then they're like, well, you're just going to have to, like, we were in the upper deck of the theater, right? That shot that Jason shows, we're in the upper deck of the theater, right at the edge. So our desk and us, and down below is the theater. So then they're like, well, you'll just have to sit in the upper deck and watch from up there. The upper deck is closed. We'll keep your area closed so no one bugs you in your area, so you can just watch from there. So now I'm like, okay, great. So now I get to hear the loud fucking shit in the room all day. When I'm working, you know, like, we get no, like, we're here. So I would literally walk 2 feet and sit in a row of chairs, right? Now, here's where that gets fucked up, right? And Thorin went off on this. And I had a long rant on my Twitch channel, but I deleted all my Twitch VODs when the fucking DMCA apocalypse was happening. So my long rant is gone, but I think Thorin, and I think By the Numbers has a rant on that I was on. But basically what ended up happening is we would then sit in our seats to watch. We do our segment, throw it to the casters, we go watch the match. They had these fucking ballyhoo lights, these orange fucking lights that would do this thing, you know, teams are coming out, and then they'd go woof, and they would be right at that upper deck in our eyes. So now we're trying to watch a fucking screen with lights. Oh, it was fucking migraine inducing, right?
Yeah, fucked.
It was so fucked up, dude. I think I just ended up staying at my desk and looking at the little shitty program monitor, right? It was just a fucking nightmare, right? Not done, though. So
This guy didn't go quietly, did he? He was not graceful about it, the surveiller guy.
So how it all started for me was I show up in the desk, like, I shit you not, I stand at that desk. I stood at the desk. Oh, God, I'm wrapped up here. I stood at the desk. And
do you need help? Do you need me in there?
No, I stood at the desk, and before they lowered it, and this desk they had built was like this to me. And I'm like, is this a standing desk or a sitting desk? And they're like, oh, no, there's a stool there, sit. And I sit, and it's like that. I'm like, this is literally our fucking desk. They had to, because what they did, it was, again, in a theater. So they built kind of on the front row the desk, and we were on the very edge, you know, with the audience, you know, parapet behind us. They had to fucking build a whole thing for us. They chopped off a foot of the desk. Again, it was a terrible, shaky desk. And then, I'm not done. So what's really important to us on the desk is audio, right? We need to hear each other when we're talking to each other. Even if you're in the same room, you often cannot hear each other because there's audio going, there's music going. There might be a guy in a foreign language giving a raffle on the stage down below. So we often need each other right in our ears, even though, like, Thorin is right next to me and Richard, they're all right next to me. So we all have, like, little cough boxes or audio boxes, right? And that whole system was a fucking nightmare. They could never get the hum out of my ears. So, like, for literally 4 days.
Okay.
Like this ground hum.
No.
This ground hum would never fucking go away from my box.
Literally, I have a device in my hand right now that is supposed to
I
just
was
cut
explaining.
ground
I'm like,
hum.
you
It's
need a fucking humbuckler. Foreign language. Oh, it was me and the audio guy. He fucking hated me because then I would get it figured out. I'd be like, okay, if I move the cord here, like sometimes ground loops are based on if they're landing on power, like if it's just laying on a power cord and shit. So I would figure out my box, and then commercial break would happen, and I'd go to the bathroom, and I'd come back up, and the fucking sound guy was in front of my box. I'm like, what are you doing? No, leave my box alone. No, it's fine. It's fucking fine. It is not, and I couldn't hear Jay, so like comms back and forth of what to throw to, and when we were muted, they kept not unmuting us in time, so I'd have to repeat my opening, or even worse, we would be unmuted and didn't know it, and I'd be, hey, Thorin, what the fuck? And all of a sudden, we'd be in the entire fucking building. I'd be like, oh my fucking God, I'm unmuted.
So you're getting hot mic
hot mic'd with like left and right, thank God, nothing horrible, because that's a crew you don't want to be hot mic'd around. This was back in, I wrote a whole bunch of notes, Jason. This is back in the day when gamblers were still DDoSing servers if they were losing the bet. And you had to have DDoS. I mean, you still need DDoS protection, but now it's more standard. They had no DDoS protection in the building. So the teams were getting DDoSed they were getting DDoSed. And it was bad. It was when it was really bad in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. We had a while there where IPs were being leaked and people were fucking with servers, DDoSing fucking shit. So it got leaked. They got DDoSed. I had this argument with the failure one night. And I was like, the last match of the night, just have them play offline, bro. It's already late. The players have to get up early. We have to get up early. This has already been a cluster. Just let them play this last match. It was France. Let them play offline. And you work on your fucking production. You work on DDoS. You work on Jay getting some fucking food and rest. He wouldn't do it. He's like, no, Scott. I talked to MBK, and the France players want the stream time. And I was like, you are fucking full of shit. You're lying to me. And he was lying to me. MBK never said that to him. Nathan, you give a fuck.
MBK is not that kind of person.
Like, none of them are, right? Like, I don't know a Counter-Strike player that would ever fucking say, oh, no, we'll play through shitty DDoS conditions so we can be on Hitbox TV that night. They needed the match, right, to be on TV, on Hitbox, right? And it was just like, okay, now you're just fucking flat out lying to me, right? And now I'm wrapping this segment up, and we'll get to yours. And then, because again, basically the biggest problem with the whole goddamn thing was this show was all about the doctor and when he could stream, when he could be on air, because he was a caster as well. So he worked himself into casting matches, and he was nowhere near the tier of the boys in the building with him, right?
It was awful.
Yeah,
it was awful.
Awful.
Yeah.
And then where it got really bad, and I even fucking warned James and DDK, I go, you watch. He's going to tell you or ask you if it's a cool idea if he can TriCast with you all, right? Because TriCast is a horrible idea unless the 3 people on the TriCast are in sync, they know each other, they work well together, they've done it before, they know how to TriCast. You can't jab Doctor of Failure next to DDK and fucking Bardoff, who have a really good fucking vibe, and expect a good TriCast. So we go round and round on this. James doesn't care to make a big enough stink, but he brings it up. He's like, I don't know, that's gonna be good for chemistry, and same with DD, because it's not, right?
Really, because James seems like he's quite capable of kicking up a stink about casting.
Well, James
James
was hungover that day. Oh, is Bardoff in there? I don't know if Bardoff remembered. Yeah. Bardoff was fucking hung as a motherfucker, didn't care. Like, they have this, I'm gonna pronounce it wrong.
That means something different where I'm from.
Yeah, he was pissed, hung over.
He's a motherfucker. Okay.
Reiki, is it someone who's been there? It's Reiki. It's a clear, like, it's
Raku,
not like
isn't it?
Raikou. It's
that's a.
It's fucking like drinking fucking
pottery
grain,
method.
fucking gasoline, right?
Yeah, I know the stuff.
And different countries there call it something different. But thank you. There's James. James, you remember this, right? James is literally. This is funny. James was so fucked up from the night before that he is laying. He's laying in our row of like where we watch, like the fucking theater row, and I'm looking down and I'm like, you can't let him fucking cast, bro. He's gonna TriCast. And James, I'm glad you're in chat. James is looking up, going, Scott, I don't even care about anything right now, let alone.
To be fair, if I was as big as James,
yeah.
I'd probably think I could drink, a whole bottle of rakia as well.
Oh, and he's got he tweeted like this fucking server tray of nothing but shots, right? And I was like, oh, you poor fucking bastard. Anyway, so there you go. Went out with his video producer who he managed. And yeah, he got fucked up. Anyway, what ends up being solved is we're not going to do a TriCast, but what we'll do is we'll just swap out casters during maps because, when you've got a final and one set of casters doing one map and one set of casters doing the other map is no continuity issue, no storyline issue. It's just fine.
Sure.
At that point, we're all like, whatever the fuck you want to do. None of us are working for you ever fucking again. So that's what they end up doing. They do a rotating thing, and basically at the end of the day, I think I called him on those podcasts, basically just a delusional fuckwad, like his fucking thoughts of grandeur about himself, and again, like, it was a bummer because where it's a bummer is the volunteers got treated like shit, but the volunteers themselves, the kids that helped us, that ran around, got us food that I bought and paid for, were fucking amazing. Right? They were fucking amazing. A lot of his volunteers that had other areas just fucking stopped showing up. Right? Admin stopped showing up. People down in the pit stopped showing up. But the guys that were kind of in charge of keeping an eye on us just kept showing up, thank God, But again, just treated like fucking ass. Hitbox, great. No longer with us, obviously, as a company. Very apologetic to us during this whole thing about him and his behavior and shit. It was just a big bummer. Because the bummer for me was not that the event was shitty, because I've done shitty events and you have shit go wrong. I still really, really like this idea of the World Cup idea, countries playing countries. It's really hard to do in Counter-Strike or any big esports because of the travel schedules and how big the tier 1 schedule is already full. But I really like that idea, the WCG, the Esports World Cup, of once a year you come together and you represent your country in these games. I thought that was neat. So I was really excited to do one for him. And then I think they did one more in 2016, but obviously I had nothing to fucking do with it. So that's my worst esport event ever.
Dude.
Yeah, and I'm sorry it took forever to tell you, but you all deserve that fucking pain. Now, Mitch,
in chat
let's talk about yours.
No. I want to put this in chat firstly because Avela basically after the stuff that happened at the World Championships, he was like trying to make it as a caster, and he cast an event at like Take TV, and he posted on Reddit asking for feedback about his casting at this random event that he did. But this was after the nonsense with the World Cup, so. I'm going to put this in chat. Go and look at that thread and see what people's opinions of Dr. Avela were following that event. It's a fucking hoot. It's incredible that he went to Reddit to get some feedback on his casting, and people just wanted to shit on him for the disaster of an event.
Yeah, and obviously I was a big, bad, mean guy to him and got it all wrong. And no, dude, I didn't get shit wrong. I fall on swords when I deserve to fall on swords. But that one was this shit. You fucked that all up. Correction. Yeah. The runners didn't spend their own money. He would give them no money to buy us food, like simple craft services shit that you do for talent, water, beverages of choice. Not even fine dining. Like they would run to McDonald's, they'd run to KFC. They would give him no petty cash. They would give these kids no petty cash, and it would take them forever to figure out how to get the money from this staff, this staff. So I would literally go, here's 100, fucking get what these guys, like I was buying our fucking bevies. And again, I wouldn't spend a lot of money, but it was like, we had no time to fucking get it figured out. So it was like, here's money, go get it. Here's what Duncan likes, Rockstar, whatever you can, I was like, but that's not our fucking, like, it was just like, that was just, and that's minor, right? But it was just like, God damn it, dude. At least take care of your volunteers, right? It was horrible. And those kids were fucking rock stars. Anyway, let's talk about this MSI event that I guess never happened.
Okay. We're talking about my one. That's fine. So yeah, I mean, I've had some shitty events in my time. To be fair, to be honest, one of the worst is like one of the Overwatch World Cups, and that was actually Blizzard's fault. But that's another story. This was definitely the worst. So back before the Overwatch League kicked off. For those that don't know, I'm an Overwatch League caster, and I was one of the first. I think I cast the second ever Overwatch tournament that existed, and that happened to be a day after the game came out in closed beta. That's how fucking sweaty I was. This event occurred before the Overwatch League during a time where Blizzard allowed third-party tournament organizers to run licensed events for Overwatch. And this was MSI, who had partnered, I believe, with Overwatch in multiple ways in the past. They've run a bunch of events in Southeast Asia. This was the MSI Masters Gaming Arena. It was going to be a LAN tournament held in conjunction with Gfinity at their setup in Stamford Bridge in the United Kingdom. They ran regional qualifiers and had some of the best teams of the pre-Overwatch League era competing. Tempo Storm, Ninjas in Pajamas were there. I think Luminosity were involved. There's a bunch of really top teams. This is pretty short. I'll keep it pretty short. So I go there. I head off over to this event and do it. And I realize that it's actually not... There's a little bit something funny going on because MSI are there, right? They've got a few people there. Gfinity are also there, but there's someone in between all of this. A Lithuanian tournament organizer who is dealing with the planning of the event. They pitched for it. They brought on Gfinity to obviously provide the services for them. Right? Kongdu Panthera, for the first time, we were going to get to see them play, outside of South Korea. This is like one of the most hyped teams. Had some of the biggest players of that particular era. So very exciting. Only 4 teams were going to go there. I was going to cast with Sideshow, I think. So a couple problems. First, these Lithuanian guys had no idea what they were doing. Just fucking absolutely clueless. They didn't realize that the tournament format didn't make a lot of sense. The scheduling was bad. And they didn't really know how to be the liaison between MSI, who is the vendor, who is sort of the sponsor. They're putting up the money for this, presumably, and then Gfinity, who are great. The Gfinity guys were fucking awesome, genuinely. MSI wanted this tournament played on their latest flagship gaming laptop that couldn't get 125 frames in Overwatch. So the players were told that they had to play on laptops that were basically blowing molten heat out of them because they were running so hot trying to run Overwatch, which is a hard game to run, to be fair. Sure. And they're like, we're not fucking doing this. We actually had half of a game that happened. And it was NIP versus Rise. And they were getting frame skip, all this terrible stuff. It was awful. So we stopped the games. It was like supposed to be like 2-3 days of gameplay. We never finished the first game. because after that, I think MSI eventually relented and allowed Gfinity to bring out their stock of PCs the players could game on, and they would leave the laptops on the desks. So they would basically take up a bunch of space the players were otherwise going to use for their mouse and keyboard because this laptop just had to fucking be there. Even though it was a dummy, they had actual screens on the tables. It was a fucking disaster. And then what happened was a chronic internet outage occurred in that region of the UK. So no one's fault really, but the end result was basically me either playing Fire Emblem on my Switch or drinking at Weatherspoons for 2 straight days in the UK, not doing a tournament, going home, and then having to get ESL to lawyer up on these Lithuanian fucks to try and get paid for the event. I think people eventually got paid, but it was like trying to get blood out of a stone. It was a disaster. There were people that didn't get paid for 18 months or so. Just ridiculous. And I don't think that's the reason why Blizzard stopped having third-party events. I think they just didn't want to do it. I think they were very protective about like the image of Overwatch, which is so ironic because I mean Blizzard are so good at fucking their own image up. But it was definitely it definitely didn't speak positively of that. I'd like to go towards an era when they're like we have more of these third-party Overwatch events, especially I would like there to be a scene for women and underrepresented genders. That'd be fucking awesome. I talked about that today on Twitter. But yeah. My worst event, but also my best. I didn't have to work the event, but these Lithuanian guys, I forget the name of they probably don't even exist anymore. Was it Advancer? I don't know. I don't know. But they were also really fucking rude to Zoe, especially because she was a woman. They were straight up misogynistic to her. It was fucking unreal. Just completely disrespectful. So there you go. That's my worst event ever. Followed closely by the World Cup. The most recent World Cup that I did where like Blizzard just had no idea how to fucking set us up for any sort of form of success. So but yeah, be careful of random people from Europe or anywhere, to be honest, who don't know how to run esports events that try and do it and then they start acting like fucking douchebags. So do not recommend.
Yeah, and like ouch for MSI. You know, whenever you become a title sponsor and the thing becomes your thing, like you're branded, it's the MSI event, and you're not running it, you're just giving money. Ouch, right? Because it's one thing if it's the blah 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 tournament and they're a sponsor, but if it's MSI's turn, like in the name,
they goofed big time.
Yeah,
they didn't understand their product either, Scott. Their PCs were they didn't meet minimum requirements to play the game. Like it was doomed to fail.
Yep,
an absolute clusterfuck.
Yeah, the Lithuanians sold them a package they should never have been sold because they're the wrong partner to do it. Yeah, ouch, holy shit. Yeah, that's fucked up. And bummer too, because that London Gfinity little movie theater, not so little, that movie theater setup, that's a nice little setup they got going there. That's a nice little event place.
Low overheads as well for them, I think, because it's a partnership with the movie theater as well. Obviously, and the Gfinity guys were like, I genuinely like stage management and stuff like that. Really pleased with them. I don't really hold them responsible for any of it because all this was sort of dictated to them. If they had been given control, they could have run what I would consider to be a decent event, even under those dubious circumstances.
So they got kind of white labeled, but only as production providers, nothing to do with helping fucking properly run the thing. Yeah, which is what they also do. Exactly. So yeah, ouch. Well, shit. Let's hope that those two are our worst ever, and they continue to be, and everything else we do is better when we all start traveling again. Well, you travel. I don't travel so much. All right, let's get into it. We're wrapping up our show. Good one today. Holy shit, I ranted like I didn't think I was gonna. Thanks, Jason. Now I'm mean
good
again.
Good job. I'm proud of you.
I really was trying to be a nicer, kinder Scoots these days, but it's really fucking hard.
No. Come and join the dark side, bro.
Let's do some questions. Yeah, let's do some questions. We've got one already fired up, I guess. Hit us with one, Jason. What do we got here? I guess I'll read this one. Do you think that the roster of C9 White will move over to CS? Again, C9 White, women's Valorant team, will move over to CS in order to capitalize on the new influx of money in the scene. From Nicholas Rage. Nicholas, you're a big fan. Love the name, too. Nicholas Rage.
No. Because, like, as has been demonstrated, a bunch of players from CS who thought Valorant would be the same and, like, just an allegory with brighter colors for Counter-Strike are now going back to Counter-Strike because it's not the same and they can't thrive there. So I would be shocked. And I also think that there's a big difference between a tournament organizer like ESL sponsoring a women's circuit and a literal game developer, the person that makes the game, creating a circuit for women with a longer sort of outlook. So I would be shocked. I don't know what you think, Scott, but I think it means much more for a dev to do this than for a fucking third party had to come in. Like Valve has shown they don't give a shit about Counter-Strike. What, you think they fucking care about women's Counter-Strike? Come on.
Yeah, let's I guess let's clarify your answer to the question. You don't think Cloud9 White will do both, or you don't think any of the game changer teams will do both?
I don't see why any of them would personally, but Cloud9 White especially because they're already in such a great spot and they're really leading the charge. I think in Valorant for sort of women's teams, like they are, and they're getting involved not just in the women's circuit, but they are active competitors in open circuits as well. Like they are playing in mixed competition and women's only. They're doing both.
Yeah, and this is where my ignorance would show to try to answer the question. I don't know what a workload is like for one of those teams, whether it's C9 White or Dignitas or any of the women's teams. I don't know what their day-to-day workload is in the games they do compete in, to whether it makes sense for them to double dip. I would bet money that some of them will try to compete in some of these events. They'll try to go to some of these events or try to qualify. Will it be the big teams, the big brands, to your point, that are maybe trying to line up with Riot to do something bigger there, and they don't want to muddy any of the waters, let alone the time frame of their working both? But I bet maybe I want to say maybe Dignitas tries to play both. I don't know. We'll see.
Eventually, the competition will probably get to the point where you wouldn't be able to get away with doing both. But yeah, initially, I guess initially you probably could.
I mean,
I think
there is a fucked up world
do
where
both and limit your practice time
because you might fuck your skill set up trying to actually compete in both. They are not the same fucking game, right? So that might do both your competitions disservice if you're trying to practice for both Valorantine events and Counter-Strike events. I guess we'll see. But I would agree with you on Cloud9 probably staying focused, though, that particular team. All right, what else we got? Jason, we got any other questions out there? All right. You can have this one. You start this one, buddy.
The best event that I've worked. So generally the Overwatch League finals are great, except for the ones that I have to do from my fucking garage. I had a great time in Philadelphia at the Wells Fargo Center, and the year before that at the Barclays Center. I really felt like I was part of an esports that people took seriously back then. Hopefully we can get back to that. I also have worked ESL 1 Cologne twice, and that was awesome. And I had fond memories of IEM Katowice getting hoisted into the crowd by boisterous but very friendly Polish fans, and all of them sort of, hanging out with me and cheering and playing along with some of my really random side stage segments, because I had to fill time. I was like the water boy on these sort of tier 1 CS events for a while, and just sort of, I would come to me if we had to fill time. Carmack would stick a mic in my hand and be like, go do something interesting. So yeah, I really loved Katowice. Always has a special place in my heart, even if the catering was never great, but those events in the Spodek are always quite incredible. I also cast a IEM World Championship League of Legends semi-final in the Spodek, which was also great. So I got a few there. It's a short list.
Oh boy. Here's where it gets funny. The question says favorite event. Doesn't say favorite esport event, Jason. You fucked that up. So my favorite event would be the London Olympics. My favorite esport event, I got two, I think, for different reasons. And I think we actually even brought this up in the first episode. MLG Columbus. Working with the MLG crews, doing top-notch Counter-Strike. Fuck, Corey's in the fucking chat. Jason, who's in the control room, was at that event, So, those of us that had been around and carried water for Counter-Strike in North America for a very fucking long time, to then kind of do a major at home, right, was just fucking... I loved that event so much I never left my desk. Even our green room, when we talked about green rooms earlier, was up in a one of those fucking skyboxes, right, that you would rent if you go to a sport event. Yep. It was nice, great view, great stuff up there. I literally just stayed at my desk because our desk was in the arena. I would just fucking turn around and watch the world's greatest fucking Counter-Strike. And I was like, Jason came and sat next to me at one point. I'm like, is this where we fucking pinch ourselves? Is this crowd cheering our favorite game in America, let alone North America? Granted, Ohio, but no offense. I used to live in Ohio, so I can say those jokes from Ohio. Columbus ain't LA, Mitch. But awesome.
Sure,
so loved
dude,
everything
LA
about
sucks, bro.
Yeah.
Great.
So loved everything about it. The event went smooth. Obviously, Liquid just so fucking close as a team too. Simple playing for Liquid even. Great storylines, great stuff. And then so that's that. Put that there. I will give that my favorite. But my next favorite happened before that, and that was Poland. Katowice, like you, like that was my first event, the first major there that VP wins at home. They yank it away from Nip yet again. That's when Nip kept getting second fucking places at majors. But to see Taz win the trophy at home, and that was my first experience of being in a stadium.
That Virtus Pro team.
Oh, that
I
Virtus
love
Pro
them
team.
so much.
Because all my esports had been smaller arena theater-y stuff, and in that event up until the finals, our desk was tucked in the back of Spodek in a fucking breakout room, locker room. I don't know. It was a fucking room, right? But for the finals, we got moved out. It went us, StarCraft, League of Legends, right? So everyone was there for fucking StarCraft and League of Legends even more than us, and Virtus Pro, because Virtus Pro was playing Nip. And it was just fucking...
Wait, what year was this?
Oh, God. I'd have to Google it.
Was this 16?
No, not
15?
2015. It would have been maybe even before that. It would have been when VP won their major. And it was just... And they did a half stadium. So it was half people, and our desk could see it, and I just goosebumps, like Tosspot and fucking Nathan were doing the funk. Sean Garris was with me, and then fucking Katie, and I was like, this is what it's like to fucking do this in front of people, because they was just a sea of fucking people. And they were there for fucking VP, and League of Legends was not fucking locked yet, right? So it was an open esport, and it was just I was like, this is fucking great. This is fucking awesome, and hearing fucking Tosspot do his fucking sensational. Oh my God. I was like,
it was right there.
2014. Yeah. So those two, definitely my two faves. Good question. All right. We got one more question, I think. Two more questions. Sorry. Oh, from Jerky's. Hey, Jerky's, nice to see you. Long-time supporter. Before we do Jerky's questions, big shout out to Rivalry. Thank you for the 20 gifted subs. You are rock stars. We love Rivalry. Great fucking crew. What is the best production setup you got to work with so far in gaming? What is the best? Okay. Oh shit.
I need to pee, so I'm gonna rattle this one off pretty quickly. I think that like once we got in house in the Blizzard Arena, in the first, I think the first year was particularly sick. But I mean, all those years in the Blizzard Arena, having like a controlled space, I think, to sort of run the events there. While we were still learning how to put on the Overwatch League as a show and kind of try and make it fun and interesting. Obviously I might be biased because first of all, Jason was in the room, and also my partner, mother of my child, was also producing that show. So, but I have to say that was one of the most enjoyable production setups that I've worked in. It felt like after a while, things were really we were just running on all cylinders. And maybe because we were doing the same thing a fair bit, but it gave us that sort of formula gave us a lot of room to have fun and improvise and play around with the show format. So yeah, definitely those early Blizzard Arena years.
Yeah, it makes sense, again, because it goes back to that conversation about when you have a stable, kind of steady home environment, it often becomes the best in some things of delivering product.
There are problems with it as well in other ways, but in that sense, it was great. Yeah,
because for me, obviously, like, they're all very, very similar when you go to an event and you're a desk host, right? So setups, I got to say the best overall would be when I wasn't a host, when I came to E-League a couple times and sat next to fucking Richard. And I filled in, I think it was for Moses one time, and I did two of them basically, 1 week, and then we did that cash for
grandfathered in by the old boys.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, I know your game.
For me, the neat part about it was obviously I was going to the Turner building, right? So that's broadcast TV shit, well, so, seeing my friend Jason in a big ass fucking TV control room. And again, it was just all done. The green room was nice. The desk was nice.
For Jason, aren't we? All of these events had Jason involved.
Because
Are you trying to butter up your partner?
Yeah, maybe. Because I think for me, it was the one event where I truly felt like, because all my stuff, I was always part production, part host, because I was very much involved in running shows and, okay, what's the graphic? Okay, no, don't do that. Do groups first. Helping with the show, not just like, okay, this is what you want me to do. But that one was not like that at all. It was come in, fill this role, here's the run of show. And so it was weird being treated from... in advance because Turner calls you and their talent guy starts talking to you. And I'm like, is this what it's like to be like fucking famous talent? And like you just come to your day wage and here's your car to pick you up and it'll be there. And it was like,
I've never
oh,
experienced
fuck.
that.
You know?
Didn't they give you a fucking, everyone got credit cards and shit as well?
Yeah, yeah.
Put the fucking expenses on?
So I don't know what it was like to work, the E-League season, but I got treated like fucking little royalty for the 2 times I flew in and do my shit. And obviously the desk is beautiful and clear comms, and it's a wired studio right next to the E-League studio was fucking the NBA studio where Shaq sat. So like it was all fucking just dreamy. So that would have been my production wise, and like don't have to worry about a goddamn thing. Very happy favorite memory for sure. All right. I think that we hit 2 hours. I didn't think we were going to hit 2 hours today. I didn't think we had enough to talk about for 2 hours, but I guess we ran.
Yeah, I think it was actually story time with Grandpa Scoots to kind of put us over the line. So good job.
Well,
We hit
you
that
talked
quota,
more
man.
episode 1. I talked more episode 2. So we'll even it out in episode 3. That will do it for our show. That will conclude episode 2 of the breakdown. Thank you very much for watching. A couple housekeeping reminders. Obviously, we do this every Wednesday, and every Tuesday we do a Valorant specific show called Valoranting. Mitch is one of our hosts of that. You want to check that out if you're interested in Valorant. That's 11 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock our time Tuesdays. We'll be back here, though, 1 o'clock our time, 12 o'clock Pacific next week. See you later, alligators. Stop being fucking weirdos.
Merry Christmas, nerds. Don't be a bigot.